Good day, everyone. How are you? That's good. Are you having a great day? Good evening? Nice morning? Wonderful. Good to hear. This is video 42, Heaven at 16%. And it's July 16th, 2019. That's a Tuesday at 8:34 p.m. Thank you for coming, for visiting. I hope you find some great excitement with tonight's video. Some brand new hope. You know, that's what Reverend Moon, his first visit here in the United States was called the Day of Hope Tour. I think it was the first one. Well, he was here in the early 60s. The Day of Hope Tour was in the early 70s. So, but he moved here, I believe, when he came here in 1971, was it? Or anyway, I think he moved here with his whole family, and from that time to evangelize the United States. So, and it was called the Day of Hope Tour. That's one of my favorite speeches from Reverend Moon. Is the speech that he gave at Madison Square Gardens on, I don't even know what day it was. I want to say September 18th, but I know that was Yankee Stadium, the date of the Yankee Stadium event in '76. But earlier, in the early 70s, 72, 73, I think it was, maybe that's when those, the Day of Hope Tour started. Anyway, and the reason I like those speeches is because he talks about a lot of things that, he talks about John the Baptist. That's one of the things that struck me, is that John the Baptist could have, if John the Baptist had united with Jesus, all the world was prepared to receive the gospel from Jesus by John the Baptist and Jesus uniting, and it just didn't turn out that way, because John the Baptist was in well, he went to jail at one point. I guess he got executed. Did he get executed? Am I confusing someone else? But anyway, I know he was in jail, and Jesus' followers went to him and said, or his followers, I guess John the Baptist's followers, said, are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another? I may be a little confused here. But anyway, and then John the Baptist said that he was not, that Jesus was not the one to follow, was not the one that was prophesied to come after, because John the Baptist was in the position of what was it? Anyway, I think for 700 years, the religious people, the Jews, were expecting the return of, before the second coming, they were expecting the return of whoever it was. For some reason, I'm not remembering the name. Silly. It's okay. To come on the clouds with the trumpet calls from heaven, or whatever it was. And since Jesus, and since John the Baptist said he wasn't the one who was to prepare the way, then that, in a way, it called Jesus a liar. So, anyway, Reverend Moon points out that Jesus came to form heaven on earth, and yeah, the divine principle covers all that very, very, very well, and Reverend Moon's speeches, of which there are over 1,000 volumes, are very enlightening. because they allow us to understand our relationship to God. Certain things, that's why he spoke so much, so he could cover it cover everyone's relationship with God, some portion of it, so that everybody could relate to something that he said, and much of it, if the more a person reads. So that's why Reverend Moon would encourage Hundoke, which is morning study, daily study of the 8 great texts, and received by Reverend Moon, the divine principle, and the messages of peace, and there are the Chansongyang, there's 5 others, and so that is his mission, is to establish heaven on earth. That was Jesus' mission. Jesus was cut short. Reverend Moon made a family, had a loyal wife, and still has a loyal wife, and now he's in the spirit world, of course. So heaven is coming. So every day we are closer to heaven. Today, this is God's promise. This is the reason. This is what is the pinnacle of my faith in true love and God and family and heaven, is that heaven is inevitable. It is the plan of our Creator, and it is what we are created to embody. We are to be heavenly, the families of heaven, the members of the one family of God's children in heaven, on earth, and in the spiritual world after we pass. And so there's a lot of people in the spiritual world since Adam and Eve. They all went to spirit world, and the ones that are on earth, of course. And now we're going to bring them heaven, because it says, as it is on earth, so it shall be in heaven now. Anyway, I believe that everything is, since the spirit world is like our mind, then what is actually done in the spirit world is manifested on earth. But in order for all the spirit world, I'm a little confused, as you can see. For all the spirit world, we're only 16% heavenly so far. All the confusion shall pass. That we know, because God is not confused, and we are His children. We are to be 100% one with God. Therefore, all confusion will be gone in us, too. And because of the 8 pledges, we know it's in our life. It's now. It's now. So, that's super good news. So, 16% means 84 more days. If we do 1% each day, then we will experience heaven in completeness. And why is that? So that we can testify to God. So we are the living testimony of God. That's why. Because all mankind are God's objects. God's children are every single person that is born. And for them to find heaven, they must be led to heaven. And to be led to heaven, someone must be heavenly. And like Reverend Moon said, he can't do it alone. He said if he could, he couldn't. So that's why we're here. We're here to take it to the masses. That's our Reverend Moon took it to however many thousands, I don't know, millions probably, of people that follow Reverend Moon. That's supposedly 2 million. I don't know how many it is. But anyway, that's our job. So if one person can lead it to 2 million, then 2 million with the same in the same position and the same level of love and heavenly spirit can certainly bring heaven to all mankind. And so maybe Reverend Moon has made a foundation. I mean, I'm sure he has in the spiritual world. A lot of unificationists have already gone to spiritual world, but also Reverend Moon went to spiritual world, and since he's there, he can witness to people, probably in a very significant way since he's one with God, then all the people in the spirit world can feel that more clearly. They can see actually probably the shining light that comes off of his spirit that reflects God's spirit, and they won't need to go through an extensive process to transform to the understanding divine principle and become followers of true parents, because they see it is obvious to them that he is standing with Jesus in the spiritual world, and yeah. So let's see. So we're getting there. It's exciting. More exciting every day. Every day there's some exciting new things to learn and to grow from, and to learn about heaven and our new heavenly spirit. Yeah, and it's 100% give and receive action with Heavenly Father, with our loving Heavenly Father. That is what our destiny is, and that is our plan for this year. We made our plan, and we've set up the condition to make our videos, or whatever our condition is. There's many of us, and yeah, we're destined. It's a promise. I feel it's a promise from God, because we live in the era, and I just, from the life that I've experienced on my own in the unification movement and throughout my life with my family, it's where my spirit has been led to follow Reverend and then to unite with Reverend. And yeah, so let's talk about heaven some more. Heaven is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place because all the children that are born in the world will immediately have a place to be happy. When we're not chasing dollars, there will be so many happy parents and children together all day long. You know, children will not have to be crying every morning when their mom and dad go to work, or you know, just forget what it's like to be with their family and to share love with their brothers and sisters, instead of being at school, or they're, you know, the family split up and they're just sitting in front of a TV. That we have so much to gain. It's amazing what beauty and love and transformation the world is about to go through, and people, children that grow up in a society that is not following the agenda of television and the news, you know, the mainstream newspapers and the movies. Children that don't go to those kind of movies are very, very happy children if they have parents that can spend time with them and love them as parents want to and as children want them to. So we have a lot to be grateful for and to celebrate very soon. So I remember that was one of the exciting lectures that Dr. Durst gave at Boonville. You know, when you go up for the weekend, it'd be a lecture series, and on Sunday night it would be the last lecture, and it was called The Future and the Ideal World. And he would talk about all this stuff in the ideal world, and everybody would get all excited because it's like, you know, talking about just how beautiful the world will be and how the food will be unbelievably delicious, and how, you know, just anyway, everybody would be so happy because it was following in Reverend Moon's. God has a lot of hope. Wherever God's hope is nurtured, then joy comes in great measure. That's why Boonville was such a happy place, and why people wanted to join that movement, is because it was a movement that was giving joy to God, that he was seeing his children respond to Reverend Moon, and who I'm sure God is, wanted to make his life as comfortable as possible, and as but it was of course very difficult because Reverend Moon had to go through the experiences, the difficulties in life that he did, even several times, starting over completely at the zero level because of the failure of people at certain times. You learn these things when you read Divine Principle, the history, what's called the patterns of history, and what happened, and how history would get to a certain point and then fail, but then God would start over again, but on a wider level, so that when that same process brought victory, it would be on a larger level. So in Adam and Eve, if Adam hadn't have fallen, or if Eve hadn't have fallen with Lucifer, then Lucifer could have been restored. And if Adam hadn't fallen from Eve, if he had stayed with God, then Eve could have been restored. But when Adam fell also after Eve, then there was no one else on earth to restore them, but their children were set to restore them. And Cain and Abel Cain came in the position of Lucifer, and then Abel was given the position of Adam, and if they'd united. But anyway, it just tells how throughout history these patterns are repeated in order to bring victory for God to this providence of salvation. In other words, bringing true love to earth, and that's what the history and the principles of restoration are all about. God's plan to bring true love to mankind, even though in the Garden of Eden they lost it. And it just took a long time, because until Jesus came, and then until Reverend Moon came, there were no true families to nurture people to grow into a position of Adam and Eve. So it had to be done kind of like with the spiritual world and faith, and then we had words like from the Old Testament and New Testament, and now the completed Testament. And through Reverend Moon and his wife, through them, we received heaven. We received true love. And now, to complete it ourselves, it's a process that God has set out in order to save all mankind. Like Reverend Moon said, he didn't come to save just one person or one church. He went through exactly what he went through in his life because he was carrying out God's plan to save everyone. So that is the point. That is the era that we live in, the era of completion of the establishment of heaven and earth. And we find, because of the pledges that Reverend Moon gave us, that we are the residents of heaven. We are the citizens of heaven on earth. And now is the time. And that's why I think, since I kind of got confirmation of that in 2009, and then more solidly on Christmas morning last year, then that's why I'm following. That's why I believe. And also I found, did I find it beforehand? Oh, I believe in this RV, the global currency reset and revaluation, that was supposed to happen every day, blah, 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 or every week, whatever. And I followed that for a year and a half or whatever. We talked about that. And so I thought there was a way for mankind for good people to have money, and for evil people to lose their money, to lose their control of money. People that are busy doing harm to mankind and the earth. But then I found at some point, I forgot when, but I met the Man of World, I've discovered the Man of World Holding Trust. I'm pretty sure it was before I went to the Philippines, which was November 20th, 2018. And that's where I was on Christmas, when I had that dream in the morning, and then I started writing my journal and writing down all my ideas right away. So, and the Man of World Holding Trust, I definitely knew them before that. And that's when I realized that this year could definitely be the year that evil loses control of the money. And that was kind of like the first idea I had in this whole transformation of the earth to the realm of heaven, is that if good people control the money, then the world can be made good and beautiful in a very short time. The only reason we see ugly and horrible and tragic things is because good people aren't printing the money. The world that we're shown that is evil and dark and hurtful and destructive is the one that's planned by those who print the money. They can plan anything they want because they print the money and they use it for whatever, to do whatever they wish. And call it something good, and then, and try and blame God, essentially, in not so many words, or, in a sort of a drawn-out way, blaming mankind for all the, for being selfish. That's the reason we have all the suffering and horrible things on the earth, is because, supposedly, it's because mankind is basically selfish. But, as we know, that's baloney. And actually, tightening up the back to my chair. As we know, actually a lot of unificationists believe that mankind is evil, and I don't agree with that at all. So you can call me a follower of Reverend Moon, but I follow him in a different way. And, maybe there's a lot of members that believe the way I do, I don't know. But the general consensus is not, the lectures that are given to, to get new members and explain the divine principle and true parents and the completed testament age to people, says that, it is the evil of people. It is humanity's, it's because mankind united with the devil and became, but even that, it seems to me that there's not a firm belief in the unification movement that people are good. There must be, because Reverend Moon says it, but somehow it's assumed that, just like in Christianity, that all people are sinners, and there's no way to unite with God if you're a sinner, so I at some point, but since in the last 5 to 9 years, 5 to 8 years, not 8 years ago, I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 years ago, I just started believing that sin is not, that's the devil's creation. The devil wants people to believe that we are irreparably damaged, so that we can never believe that we are one with God. That would be just the wonderful magic formula for the devil's plan, which is to destroy God's children and God's family and the earth, or at least subjugate whatever number of God's children he can, and then kill the rest, because that's obviously what he's been doing. Anyway, so heaven is coming, and we are 100% godly. And as soon as we are not controlled by fear, and as soon as we are not controlled by fear, then God can work through us. Yeah. God, as soon as we I don't know, any time that we choose, that's it. Any time that we choose to be unselfish as opposed to doing something for ourselves, and then as we become closer to God and more heavenly. And at some point, we're going to get the go-ahead from God to step all the way into heaven. And we're not going to have any more divided ideas about what is heavenly and what is not, or any divided desires to do anything that's unheavenly. And River Moon, he would say, the spirit world is desperate to accomplish goodness. So no matter how much you do, you may get thanked for it, but it won't be enough. You won't be thanked twice. Anyway, he didn't say that. But he just said there's so many, and in my opinion, there's just so many people suffering in the world today. We have to just be extremely powerful and go as fast as we can to fix the world. Yeah. I guess I'm slipping off this chair. Maybe if I sit forward instead of trying to lean back. Every day I've been working on a floor, and it's not too much for me, but let's just say it takes it out of me. And right now I have no distilled water. I mean, I buy distilled water at the store. It's not distilled water. I can tell you that right now, because otherwise I'd feel better. If I don't have distilled water, and what I do is buy a $60 still distiller, it's like a coffee pot, and it distills a gallon of water. It takes 5 hours. So, it'd be nice to have a bigger one. But anyway, you have to plug it in, too. Anyway, yeah, without my distilled water, I still take my MMS, and sometimes I take my turpentine, 4 drops, with black seed oil, and then wash it down with water or something. But I don't take that every day, but although I could, I think it would be good. I think that's part of the problem I'm having with my eyes is I'm purging, because my diet is pretty good. I don't eat any meat or dairy, or I try to stay away from all packaged foods, because they, I have trouble with them. They always bother me afterwards when I eat that kind of stuff. So, and I'm sure the produce has some toxins in it, but it's a heck of a lot less than the stuff that's in the packaged foods or the restaurant food or stuff like that. And so I think what my body is doing is purging things that are in my head, I mean literally chemicals that are in my head, toxins that have been tucked away, and it's trying to get rid of this stuff as quickly as it can, so it's like coming out my eyeballs. That does, that your doctor may not tell you that. Yeah, I see some of that glutamate, sodium glutamate coming out of your eyeballs there, partner. You gotta cut down on the sodium glutamate. And what's that called? That's GSMA, MRA, MDA. There's so many initial ingredients that it's beyond. It's a spice. It's a white powder, and they actually you can just buy it in the spice department. It's like highly toxic. It's like a brain toxin. It's like a neurotoxin. Literally. It's called anyway. You know what I'm talking about. It used to be in a lot of Chinese food, in Chinese restaurants and stuff in the United States anyway, because it's a real flavor booster. It's like a super salt. But I don't know what it does. Anyway, yeah. So, hopefully, getting cleaner and cleaner. But not having distilled water. So, anyway, when I got back from the Philippines, it was raining here, and it actually rained ever since November, or I got back in January 18th, or so, yeah. And it rained from now until it's July, until the end of June. We had enough rain, so I always had distilled water. I always had rainwater, because I was catching it in 5-gallon buckets. If I'd saved more, I'd catch like 5, 10, 15, 20 gallons, and then just put it aside, and then it would rain again before I ran out. So now I just need to buy another distiller. and they'll feel so much better. Yeah. Drinking bad water is really horrible. It just really affects the health. I mean, yeah. So if you can get a distiller and drink distilled water, you're going to notice an incredible difference in your health. I think. Unless you've been drinking rainwater already. And, yeah. So, get ready for a big celebration, 2019. Between October 14th and October 15th and December 31st. And then January 1st, 2020. I think it's going to be the world of people's dreams. You know, there was a book by H.G. Wells called Men Like Gods. I forget what it was. I read that book. That's one of the very, very few books I read. It was actually just a story, probably a short story, in a book of H.G. Wells' short stories. I don't know how short it was, maybe 100 pages or something. I'm not even sure if I read the whole thing. But it was kind of interesting. For some reason, it just caught my attention. I should read it again, see what it says. Yeah. So anyway, so it will be the world of our dreams come true. Yeah. No more war. No more famines. No more poverty. No more hate. No more suffering of any kind. No more disease. All those things are unnecessary. And the Venus Project talks about all that stuff. You ever want all the details from somebody else? And everybody, the poorest people in that future will be more comfortable and happy than the richest people in the world today. Yeah. You know? Because there's so much of everything. If we just use technology to feed people, house people, clothe people, give them transportation, communication, and everything else that we need, and then address, and get a balanced system for all people around the world. That's what the Venus Project is all about, explaining that whole system. And what it is you just measure the resources, find out where they are, find out where the people that need the help are, and balance the whole system, and then computers can monitor how much of everything we have, how much water, how much, when something needs watering, it gets water, and it can all be entered into the computer, and then everyone will receive, then the production will match people's needs, rather than some kind of strange monetary policy baloney. Total destructive hell. That's all that money has brought, is hell. So we're going to end the money system this year. I just decided that there's no way it can survive. And I don't mind if we kept it and just give as long as everybody can have as much as they want. Yeah. And then we'll find out. Well, we'll find out, gee, man wasn't really selfish as we thought he was, as we were told he was. So it's going to be all great news. I feel very happy and comfortable sharing with you, and thank you so much for being here. We are entering heaven together day by day. That's a great thing for us, for our children, our grandchildren, and all mankind today, and all mankind even in the spirit world, and all mankind in the future, of course. But all the people in the spirit world, they will be so happy to see us in heaven, and that they can inherit that, or somehow, however that works, I don't know yet. Thank you. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you in video 43. It'll be video 43, Wednesday, heaven at 17%.